At 19, I walked away from my entire friend group. No drama, no explanation, just done. That decision led me to 2 years of isolation, and in that 2 years, I dissolved 12 years of panic attacks, got rid of all my anxiety, got into the best shape of my life, and even made 15K helping other men do the same. By the end of this video, I guarantee that you know exactly when to pull back in relationships, understand how to smoothen out relationships, and you'll see the value in isolation and know how to come out of it stronger. I knew that isolation was necessary. For example, when I would drive home from hanging out with my friends, I would have like a tight chest. My head would be just filled with thoughts, and I did not feel good. I felt small, compressed, weak, anxious, and insecure. And it wasn't just a one-time thing. That pattern kept happening. So that night, I just knew. I knew I couldn't go back. There was no going back. And it had nothing to do with them being bad people. This isn't a victimhood video. This is a video about realizing what your body and heart is communicating to you. There just wasn't meaning behind what we were doing. Our values were not aligned. And when you find yourself in those circumstances, it's hard. But every time you have the end of a story, you have a new beginning. Remember that. In the context, I was doing good. Like in my junior year, we were 9-1 in football. I had 2 pick sixes. I was the most outstanding player in my junior class and the next year, my senior class. But that doesn't make your life perfect, even if materially you're doing good. Inside, the relationships I had, the lack of meaning, the anxiety I had, it was eating me alive. I think really I just had too much repetition, too much mechanical going through the motions. And quite frankly, iron sharpens iron, and we were not sharpening each other. So I knew it was time to shed the skin. It was time to move on. It was time to try something new, even if it was scary. And looking back now, those are the moments that allowed me to have the insight to listen to others who found themselves in tough situations and build that coaching practice and know how to support. Most people ignore what their body's communicating. I mean, I did it for 12 years. Coincidentally or not, back in 2020 when COVID happened, that whole shutdown situation, that was when my isolation started. And it just gave me so much more time to be with myself, to notice my own patterns, to hear my own thinking. And I was vulnerable, but it's in being vulnerable that you find strength, breaking routines, breaking patterns, questioning yourself, bringing skepticism into the way that you see who you are and the world as well. And it was kind of like I didn't have any more obligations. I wasn't performing, saying yes to things that I really wanted to say no to. I was just done trying to fit in. And I still had anxiety moments, still had some panic, but it was so much less frequently as I began to tune in and listen to what my heart was guiding me to. And also having just no distractions, being with myself, it created the space to hear what I was running from for so many years. And I remember so frequently all of these what ifs popping up, maybe a few months into isolating myself. What if this? What if that? And I just realized that this is the pattern that corrupts people. It's that thinking about the things which you cannot have certainty on. And you gotta find a way to trust, to surrender, to let God show you what your life's meant to be. And that means you're carrying the lamp and you don't see everything. You just see the next few steps. But when you walk with faith and you correct your lifestyle, you change your heart, then that lamp, it brightens. That spark inside of you, it communicates to you. Before isolation, when all these what ifs would pop up, I would run to a distraction, whether it be a video game or hanging out with friends, texting friends, hey, you want to hang out? Then I just realized, man, that I don't have that anymore. So I've got to do something, or maybe I've got to let go of something. And about after like 20 minutes that day, sitting with myself, whether I was stretching or meditating, I can process, I can see that the anxiety, the body, it's smoothening out. The stillness is inviting me to sit with it. Everything in my vessel is becoming calmer, clearer. And that was priceless. And in year 2 of this isolation, everything began to sprout a little bit, like spring, right? The isolation's like winter, you're filtering, and a lot of things are dying. The skin, it just had to go. But as you sit with yourself, you realize what you care about. You see what's most meaningful. Your energy culminates to guide you toward the ROI, the win-win-win opportunities. And in my life, I noticed the clarity around business. I never necessarily knew what would be next in business, but I always had something to work on. And I always felt that I'm doing this for a reason, even if I'm failing, even if I'm falling on my face. It was that stillness, that surrendering, that isolation, which led me to start building an alignment, creating things that I could see being leverageable, scalable, impacting many people. Things began to snowball for me. And this is when I got extremely consistent. I was waking up 2:52 a.m. on bed sharp every night, meditating 30 minutes plus in a day. And I began to test out mushrooms as well. Not mushrooms in the sense of the fools, but mushrooms in a way where all I did was meditate and stretch and sit with myself, go outside, go on hikes, maybe listen to someone like Alan Watts. And those mushrooms, it was like I was plugging into a higher voltage, and that voltage was ripping me apart, but also showing me what I had to get rid of. It was teaching me. It was bringing in a thorough energy into my being, guiding me to change my heart, to change my behavior, to see that there's a new way of relating to oneself and the world. And one day on those mushrooms, I saw something which was transparent like the sun, and there are no words for it, 0 words for it. It's the nameless. It's that which has always been within you. It felt like I had a key put into my chest, and the treasure chest that got unlocked was my heart. That's what it felt like. And the results, the panic attacks lessened, the anxiety lessened. I was able to notice the triggers of overthinking before I was 30 minutes into anxious overthinking. I would notice the trigger and then be able to kind of step in front of the cycle, and therefore the cycle dissipated. And the energy that that cycle would take up, as in a vortex, now the energy was recycled in a new way. And this was exactly when I began coaching, because I realized, man, I have something to share. I've invested $30,000, $40,000 into programs, courses, guides, education. I've put hundreds and hundreds of hours into listening to podcasts, psychology. The list goes on. And I couldn't get away from what I love doing. And that's what we're doing right here, sharing the fruit. So one of the biggest realizations that I had was that strategic solitude is power. So that means saying no to things that you don't need to be at. That's not wrong. It means not taking other people's energy so personally. So you realize that other people are going to act as they are, and you don't control them. So you don't judge them. You discern, you let go. You see that it's their life projecting onto you, and that doesn't make you better nor worse. But I stopped trying to fit in. Stop taking other people's opinions so seriously. And that has helped me so much. And that specifically projection versus your truth. And then also knowing when to pull back. Understanding that, like, I used to stay at events because I didn't know how to leave. And then I got this newfound freedom, which allowed me to be not awkward, to say bye and to just wrap up events in a smooth manner where everyone felt better. Also, I remember this vividly. I had a buddy text me and he was kind of like, yo, you okay? And I just kind of told him, yeah, man, I'm cooking. I'm just working on different things. And then I didn't feel guilty. I didn't feel the need to over-explain. I was just straightforward, just honest and direct. And there's that freedom that it allows you to, you're not like sugarcoating things anymore. You're just real. You're genuine. You're authentic. That's priceless. That's what matters. And realization number 2 is you can't find yourself in noise, right? Reference the mushrooms. When I did mushrooms, I didn't go out with people. I actually didn't speak to anyone really. I would sit by myself in a room, meditate, stretch, not much music, not much activity besides feeling deeply the energy in my being. And then realization number 3 is that so many relationships are just pure performance. Like, I'll do this for you so you can do this for me. And that is not the way that beauty is created. Beauty is a holistic exchange. It isn't self-interested. It is I'm overflowing with water, so of course you get water. It's not like, oh, I have this much and I have to manage how much water I have. No, you prioritize yourself so that you're overflowing, and that overflow just naturally, it finds the seeds that are ready in the context of water. And I remember hanging out with people after this isolation and seeing that I was still able to have fun, still able to interact, but it was so much easier. I knew when to leave. Things weren't awkward. I could almost guide the conversation, guide the hangout session in a way where we wouldn't be doing meaningless things. And that was invigorating. That brought a new vitality into my spirit, seeing that, man, some people are receptive to this change. So I'm not prescribing anything to you. You do not need to follow anything that I've said here. But what you do need to do is find your path. Your path may be different, but remember, there are thousands of mountaintops, and the truth is the truth. And this is important. You need to trust when things feel dead. That's the only way you'll be able to climb your mountaintop, is letting go of all of the unnecessary weight and baggage that you thought you needed on your way up. So you're allowed to walk away from meaningless connection. You're allowed to be honest with other people. Be kind, be loving, but be genuine. Be compassionate, put yourself in their shoes, but sometimes people do need some ruthless energy. And really, I came out of this isolation ready to share, ready to integrate. And that's exactly what you can do too. Whatever hard things you've went through in your life, they are for you. They are crosses to carry, to strengthen your spine. You'd never, ever be given a challenge that you are not powerful enough to bear. And in the next video, we're going to go more in depth on dissolving the 12 years of panic attacks and on that moment that I couldn't unsee. You are powerful. Abracadabra means I create as I speak. Embody that. Understand that thoughts turn into words.